So you watch the news today, and obviously a lot of this has to do with the elections. You're hearing about Trump, and you're hearing about Hillary, and all the things that they've done. How Hillary had, of course, the email server in her basement and was sending confidential emails, and how Donald Trump is outsourcing his clothing line to Cambodia and China, and unfortunately, we probably have two of the worst candidates in U.S. history running for president. Personally, I don't like either one of them. Of course, I wasn't a big fan of Obama either, but he also wasn't the worst. But, picking between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump is like trying to decide how you want to die, either by firing squad or electrocution. Either way, you're screwed. You're going to die either way. I think both of them would be disastrous for the U.S., not just for the U.S. culture and economy, but for our world relations. I don't think either one of them would be very well received. Donald Trump is a very abrasive, verbally combative person. I just don't think he has the diplomacy to do the job right, because right now, of course, tensions are very high in the world, which we're borderline with Russia. Obviously, our ties in the Middle East are relationships of convenience, or allies of convenience, with such places as Egypt and Saudi Arabia, and they need us because we buy their oil. Same thing with China. They don't probably really like us, but we buy a lot of their crap, and so it's a relationship of convenience. Of course, Japan, we nuked them and rebuilt their entire country for them. And we also buy a lot of their crap too. And being Hillary, and this is nothing against women, but Hillary is a woman who's going to have to do foreign policy with countries that see women as second-class citizens. You look at Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, any of those Middle Eastern countries, and they treat women as second-class citizens. They are not respected in the same way that we respect women here in the United States. So I'm not sure that she would be taken seriously. Not to say that she wouldn't be able to physically do the job, but it would be difficult with her dealing with diplomats from, like I said, Middle Eastern countries places like Saudi Arabia, where women aren't even allowed to drive. They're not allowed to vote. They have to be escorted everywhere with a man. So, it's a very, very Muslim country. And they take it to the extreme. Women are seen as more of possessions than they are of actually people. It's kind of like having a pet dog to them. So, now, would any other candidates do any better? I don't know. Putting other people in there who were possible candidates might have been good. Jeb Bush, I think, got the short end of the stick. I think his last name kind of screwed him because the first two Bushes didn't do so well. So, you have to look at it optimistically. Which one's not going to screw us the worst? Who's going to get out of this deficit? And who's going to be able to take care of, the terrorism going all around the world? Almost every day there's a terrorist act in some way, shape, or form in countries all over the world. And someone needs to put a squash on that. And, of course, you have a lot of these not so intelligent people basically saying, well, let's just nuke the entire Middle East and turn it into a giant Disneyland. That's called genocide. And the last person to do that didn't work out so well for him either. As if you remember Hitler. No, I don't think we want to follow in that lovely gentleman's footsteps. But we have to be very careful how we tread in the future. Other countries don't look at us as the threat that we used to be. Up until about the 1950s, other countries were afraid of the United States. They would not go to war. After after Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, a Japanese general was quoted as saying, "All we did was wake the sleeping bear." And of course, we responded by bombing with atomic bombs Nagasaki and Hiroshima, basically leveling it. So yes, that was an eye for an eye, and we kind of lost that attitude after the 1950s. You know, we went into Vietnam and we got our ass kicked. Let's face it, we didn't win in Vietnam. We got the crap beat out of us. We went home with our tail between our legs. You know, and of course the first Gulf War, we went in, bombed, and left. Now, there were still armed forces over there, but we didn't finish the job, okay? Saddam Hussein was still in power. Things were still going on. And here's the thing that you have to think about with Saddam Hussein. When Saddam Hussein was in power, nobody in the Middle East screwed with him. There was no ISIS. There was no Al-Qaeda. People were petrified of this guy because he was a maniac. He was a wacko, and so were his sons. Sons were actually more nuts than he was. But nobody screwed with him. He kept his area in control. He controlled the terrorist organizations. The terrorist organizations were petrified to go against him. You take Saddam Hussein out of power, all of a sudden, there's Al-Qaeda, there's ISIS, and they're running rampant all over the world. We didn't have that much of a terror problem before Saddam Hussein was taken out of power. So yeah, I mean, he was a bastard, and you know, he did a little bit of genocide, and he wasn't the most humane person in the world, but he kept things under control. He just had a different way of going about it. Was it a good way? No, but it kept terror at bay, and if he were still in power, 9/11 may have not have happened. So you've got to take the good with the bad. I mean, yeah, he was a bastard. His kids were bastards. They like to execute people, but sometimes you need fear to take care of situations like that. When you have that much power and people are that much afraid of you, it works. Now, it's not working out so well for China because we're just kind of laugh at China. You know, and we also laugh at North Korea, the fat North Korean who looks just like his father, who's threatening the United States, and we're just kind of looking back and laughing at him. So, is China really a threat, or is North Korea really a threat? Not really. Is Putin? Probably not. Putin's a big talker and is all about bravado and showing pictures of him bare-chested on horseback and doing judo and shooting archery and shooting guns. You know, he's all about image. Granted, has he had a few people who oppose him assassinated? Yes. Poisoned, shot, killed, but that's just the way they operate over there. Kudos to him for getting rid of the competition. Maybe that would work a little better over here. But, in the great global economics now, we are controlled by money. We're controlled by oil. Of course, oil equals money. The right intent idea was when we went into the Middle East was to take control of the oil. The one thing that we should have done was do that. Essentially, we would have controlled almost a good portion of the world's economy. We would have taken some of that power back and some of that fear back, instead of just going in there and just dropping a few bunker busters and wiping out what little military that Iraq had. The useless Republican Guard that Iraq had. Wasn't really much of a fight. There was very few American casualties. In fact, we accidentally killed a couple Canadians in a tank. Oops on our part. But it's time to take control. America needs to be feared and respected again to be the great country that it once was. I've said it before in other blogs. The 1950s was probably our greatest era. We had finished World War I, we had finished World War II, done it well, and the world feared us. And we also established some great new allies. So Russia was afraid of us. Japan was afraid of us. China was afraid of us. Now, really, nobody's afraid of us. Everybody just kind of thinks, oh, it's just America, we can do whatever we want. And it's obvious by the actions taken by other countries. So, that's my thoughts for today.